Denise is really enjoying interpretive reading here. She has been getting back in touch with short stories and poems which she enjoyed in school. The poem she has chosen for today is one that encourages each of you to put yourselves into the vortex of an exciting inning of baseball. Can't you hear the umpire shout, "Play ball"? The title of her poem selection is Casey at the Bat by Ernest Lawrence Thayer. Here is...
I've heard that in a while.
I don't want to evade an introduction. I would like to say that this poem was written in June 3rd, 1888, and it appeared in the Examiner in San Francisco. It didn't bring out much interest at the time that it was published. But in August, a couple months later, there was a gentleman named DeWolf Hopper, and he was in vaudeville. And he saw an opportunity to use this poem because in his audience were baseball teams from New York and Chicago. Therefore, the poem became legendary and is the most important baseball poem of all time. One tidbit also, in that time frame, 1888, when baseball was being played, the men were mostly the ones that came to the games. But ladies did come also, but they were separated from the men in a different area.
As they should.
The reason was because of the men possibly having vulgarities. And they wanted to keep the ladies away from any swearing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Casey at the bat. The outlook wasn't brilliant for the Mudville Nine that day. The score stood 4-2 with but one inning left to play. And then when Cooney died at first and Barrows did the same, a sickly silence fell upon the patrons of the game. A straggling few got up to go in deep despair. The rest clung to the hope which springs eternal in the human breast. They thought if only Casey would get a whack at that. We put up even money now with Casey at the bat. But Flynn preceded Casey, as did also Jimmy Blake. And the former was a Lulu, and the latter was a cake. So upon that stricken multitude grim, melancholy sat, for there seemed but little chance of Casey getting to the bat. But Flynn let drive a single to the wonderment of all, and Blake, the much despised, tore the cover off the ball. And when the dust had lifted from the eyes and the men saw what had occurred, there was Jimmy safe at second and Flynn a hugging third. Then from 5,000 throats and more there rose a lusty yell. It rumbled through the valley, it rattled in the dell. It knocked upon the mountain and recoiled upon the flat. For Casey, mighty Casey, was advancing to the bat. There was ease in Casey's manner as he stepped into his place. There was pride in Casey's bearing and a smile on Casey's face. And when responding to the cheers, he lightly doffed his hat. No stranger in the crowd could doubt 'twas Casey at the bat. 10,000 eyes were on him as he rubbed his hand with dirt. 5,000 tongues applauded when he wiped them on his shirt. Then while the writhing pitcher ground the ball into his hip, defiance gleamed in Casey's eyes, a sneer curled Casey's lip. And now the leather-covered sphere came hurling through the air, and Casey stood watching it in haughty grandeur there. Close by the sturdy batsman, the ball unheeded sped. "That ain't my style," said Casey. "Strike one," the umpire said. From the benches, black with people, there went up a muffled roar, like the beating of the storm waves on a stern and distant shore. "Kill him! Kill the umpire!" shouted someone in the stand, and it's likely they'd have killed him if Casey had not raised his hand. With a smile of Christian clarity, great Casey's visage shone. He stilled the rising tumult. He bade the game go on. He signaled to the pitcher, and once more the spheroid threw, but Casey still ignored it. The umpire said, "Strike two." "Fraud!" cried the maddened thousands, and echo answered, "Fraud!" But one scornful look from Casey, and the audience was gone. They saw his face grow stern and cold. They saw his muscles strain, and they knew that Casey wouldn't let that ball go by again. The sneer is gone from Casey's lip. His teeth are clenched in hate. He pounds with cruel violence the bat upon the plate. And now the pitcher holds the ball, and now he lets it go. And now the air is shattered by the force of Casey's blow. Oh, somewhere in this favored land, the sun is shining bright. The band is playing somewhere, and somewhere hearts are light. And somewhere men are laughing, and somewhere children shout. But there is no joy in Mudville. Mighty Casey has struck out.